How do you practice your negotiation skills? Welcome to the Practice Makes Perfect Negotiator. Before we get going, we made it. 100 subscribers. Thank you all. And for the next 100 subscribers, you're also special to us. So don't be shy. So, you want to improve your negotiation skills. And somehow you've ended up here. And I don't want to discourage you, because watching videos is a great start to learn more about negotiation. But it is the beginning of the journey and definitely not the end. Because, just as with sports and other skills, you don't become Roger Federer or Max Verstappen by just watching tennis or F1. You have to practice, because practice makes perfect. How do you practice your negotiation skills? There are many ways. In this video, I will share a few of them. 1. Throughout the day, you have many small negotiations and conversations. Often we ignore them and don't spend much time or energy because the results don't matter that much. But what if it's not about the results, but about the process and the practice? You can use those small negotiations to practice and to build experience. The great thing of a small negotiation is that it doesn't matter if you make mistakes, since the results don't make a big difference anyway. So use those negotiations to try new things and perhaps throw in a few risky tactics to find out if they work or not. An example is to try and ask no-oriented questions only. It feels strange, but it is great practice. Let's take your dinner plans. If the negotiation doesn't go your way, you might end up at your spouse's favorite restaurant instead of yours. It's a small defeat, but one you'll survive. 2. When you have bigger, more important negotiations, you have another opportunity to practice. Of course, you won't take the same risk as with the smaller negotiations, but every bit of practice will help you to become a better negotiator. When it comes to bigger negotiations, it is vital to prepare well. And part of that preparation is to already determine what you're going to do and what you are definitely not going to do. Call it a list of do's and don'ts for your negotiation. What does a list of do's and don'ts look like for a negotiation? The list should be tailored to the negotiation. There is not a generic list for each negotiation or for each negotiation that you do, but an example could be: do, give compliments, make notes, focus on their body language. Don't talk about non-business related things. Don't talk too much. And let's be honest, many of us make that mistake. As you can see, the list is specific to a negotiation. In this case, for example, to a negotiation with a more dominant counterpart, someone who's not interested in your weekend plans. By the way, the Sound Negotiator Assistant is a great way to create a list of do's and don'ts for you, for your next negotiation. Check out the links to the app stores in the description. 3. Okay, so these are real negotiations where you can practice your skills. But what about discussing an upcoming negotiation with a colleague or friend and asking them to play the other side so that you get to practice possible scenarios? Many of us don't want to spend the time on it, or are afraid to ask someone to do this, or feel that it is silly. But it really does add a lot of value. It will enable you to get into the negotiation before the actual negotiation starts. For example, by practicing your creativity when it comes to coming up with open-ended questions. Don't be shy. Just try it out and you will see that it adds value. 4. The last one I'll share here is one that I very much enjoy and one that we at Sound Negotiator organize often. It is negotiating a fictitious case with fellow negotiators. It is a big part of our negotiation training, but also something we organize for clients. How does it work? We write a negotiation case with 2 or more roles, whereby all roles get their own instructions. Participants get a set amount of time to prepare and afterwards get to negotiate the case with each other. The big upside is that it is a real negotiation, but it doesn't matter if you win or lose because there's no money exchanging hands. It allows you to practice whatever you want to practice. Perhaps you want to work on your observation skills or note-taking. Whatever it is, you can do it without risking anything. One idea we are exploring is to organize these negotiations for all of you via Discord. There's a link to the Discord in the description. Contact us if you want us to create a negotiation case based on your reality, so that you and your colleagues can practice. How do you decide what to practice? And how do you structure your practice into a coherent strategy to become a better negotiator? First of all, you have to determine what your strengths and weaknesses are. You could, for example, ask people that have been part of your negotiations, but you could also ask an expert to observe one of your negotiations. A negotiation training is also a great way to find out what your strengths and weaknesses are. Once you have a list with, for example, the following attention points: active listening, ask more open-ended questions, applying in their world to their benefit, and observation and note-taking skills, you can create a plan. And that plan has to be with small steps. not big steps. Don't try to do all of it in one go. So as an example, take 5 or 10 negotiations to just do one thing from your list. For example, the active listening. Once you have mastered or at least improved, you go to the next item on your list for the next 10 negotiations. If that is also going smoothly, you try and combine the two in the next 10 negotiations. Remember, Rome wasn't built in a day. Take your time. In summary, watching videos is just the start. Practice is key. Use everyday negotiations to try new techniques without having to fear the result. Prepare well for bigger negotiations and create a list of do's and don'ts to practice specific skills. Practice with a colleague or friend to explore potential negotiation scenarios. Participate in negotiations based on cases to simulate real negotiations without risk. Identify strengths and weaknesses. Seek feedback and expert advice to identify what to focus on. Focus on one skill at a time, gradually building competence in each area. Consistent practice is essential to create negotiation habits. Practice is vital to become a better negotiator. Negotiation is about creating new, better habits. And you can't do that with watching videos or reading books. As Aristotle said, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. With practice, you can become a sound negotiator. Good luck with your negotiations. Want more insights? Check out this video.